Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I really hope that you guys are having a great day today. I'm back with the part two of the video, and in this video, we will be going ahead and texturing this model. So, if you remember, this is the model that we created in the part one of this video, and if you have not checked it out so far, please, I would recommend to go ahead and check it out. I go through each step of how I made this model. So if you're interested on in 3D modeling or would want to make models like these yourself, please go check it out. I'll link it down in the description so that you guys can access it. Um, as you can see that I added a few more additional details on this because the plain center of the gun was just not looking great. So I added a few other details and it looks good to me now. And we're going to texture on this now, right? But before we get into the video, let me just call this out that over this weekend, I'm going to be making a video around how to create some awesome trailers for your channel using Blender, right? So you can it's really possible to create some cinematic looking trailers for your channel just by using few tips and tricks that are available in Blender. And since I know that most of my audience is actually YouTubers, so I'm pretty sure that you guys will benefit out of it. So don't forget to check that out. And yeah, if you do like this video, uh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And also check out my Patreon channel. Once I've done with this video, I'll be uploading this project file over there, which will be available for all the members of my Patreon for free. All right, then, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create some basic textures first before we get into the complicated stuff, right? So the first thing that I'm going to create is a basic black or dark texture that I'm going to use for most part of this gun. If you like before, if you remember the other video for the QXR, I've already assigned textures to the relevant faces just to save some time here, right? And in case you don't know how to do that, it's all about just go to face select mode, select your faces, and select that texture that you want to assign, and just click on assign. Once you do that, the texture automatically gets applied. Now for this entire piece, we are gonna go ahead and create a basic metallic texture. So I'll bring the metallic all the way up, and also the specular. So specular is nothing but the shininess of it, so I'll bring that up too. For the roughness, let's keep it somewhere around here. I think it looks good enough. And I'll just go ahead and name this texture as base color. Okay, so because we'll be using this texture on a lot of other places, right? So just to make sure that we recognize it, right? So that was the first one. The second one that I want to create would be similar thing, but this one I'll keep a little bit lighter, like somewhat like silverish. And the reason for that is because I want to create some highlights, right? So these other different parts that I've made, I want to give them a separate color than what do you say, then the entire base color. So I'll just quickly select this, I'll select my material, and then hit apply or hit assign. As soon as I do that, this material is assigned to it. Can't see it properly right now, but bring this up a little bit more. Yeah, so you can see that it's slightly different, not exactly, but this helps out a lot, right? So like this gives your gun that different look where it just showcases the highlights of your gun. So yeah, let's go ahead and yeah, let's go ahead and apply it. So actually it's already applied to these many places, which is what I wanted already. So this highlights already applied there. uh, let's let's actually name this as well. Name it silver highlights. Okay, so the next one that we are going to create would be a glass texture. So if you remember the original image that I showed you, it had this space transparent, and also this area over here as well. So we and plus we want some light to be coming out of these spaces, which currently don't have a texture, right? So we'll be assigning those glass texture over there. So let's hit new. Let's name it glass. Now, how to create a glass texture? Well, it's really easy. Can you see this surface over here? Instead of this, you can just like click on this and just go to glass BSDF. And as soon as you do that, can you see it's already applied a glass texture over here, right? Now, there's some changes that we need to do. And like we just need to change the IRO over here. Just make sure that it is 0.9, I think is what worked for me. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'll keep the roughness to what it is right now, because I think it worked fine for me, right? So let me first do that, and it still doesn't look like glass because Eevee as a render engine doesn't really work with glass that great. So let's just go ahead and make some changes actually, so that our Eevee can show us the glass properties, right? So just a second. This looks fine here. Okay, so in your texture, if you scroll down, you'll see settings right below volume. Over there, you need to change the blend mode to alpha blend, and also change the shadow mode to alpha hash. Once you do that, it already is becoming transparent here, right? But it's still not showing stuff. So you'll also have to click on screen space refraction. Once we do that, now you can see that it's already has gotten transparent, and we can see the layer behind it. So it's that easy to make glass. Not a lot of things to work on over here. So I think that's pretty much it for the glass piece. The next one that we're gonna make is a glowing material, right? We want a gun to be glowing. I think I already have that, so I'll show you how I made it, right? Since I forgot to delete it. Now, this material is really animated. So what I mean by that is you can actually go ahead and create a material that automatically lights a different part of your gun in a timely manner, right? So how did I create this? So let me go over each of these each of these nodes. So we're gonna go ahead and delete this, and then make it once again. So the very first thing that I added in that was the emission texture. The emission shader. So to add that, all you need to do is click on shader, click on emission, and there you have it. So you need to take the emission plugin and plug it into the surface of your texture. Now you can see that it's already glowing. It's glowing everywhere. So we want that animation effect in that, right? Which we are not getting right now. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and add a color ramp to make sure that we are able to, control where the texture is getting applied. And in addition to that, I'll add a gradient texture. So that is the gradient texture is really crucial here, which is the one that actually gives it the effect of that fading away. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that gradient texture, and as soon as I apply it, can you see it's already showing you the effect of it? So let me just actually go ahead and change this to easing, just to make it a little bit more interesting, right? And I'll increase the strength of the emission to about 10 so that we can see it properly. Okay, so now if you have the Node Wrangler add-on installed, and if you don't, just go to preferences and go to add-ons and search for Node Wrangler and just click on that, and it gets activated. So if you have that, just press Control T after clicking on the gradient texture, and this two nodes automatically gets added. Now change the generated that is going into the vector to object that's going into the vector, right? And as soon as you do that, it disappeared. But the reason for that is because now you can animate it. So to animate this entire thing, all you need to do is just go ahead and keyframe these values, or animate this X value, and automatically will go ahead and create that fading effect for you, right? So that's pretty cool, and you can actually use that texture in different spaces to just give it a really nice look. And my final animation actually has this piece animated, so when I play it for you guys, you guys will know what I'm actually talking about. But yeah, that's about it for the gradient texture. You can actually just go ahead and change the color to, let's say, this, and yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. So we'll go ahead and apply the same textures to other places too. But before we do that, can you see that even though it's glass, there's nothing glowing inside? But in our original model, when we textured it, it lighted up, right? So how do we do that? So in order to do that, let's go back to our base color, right? And there's a simple little trick for that. So we have this node that is called funnel. So just type FER and you get this node. You click that node and you have to just plug it in emission. And as soon as you do that, you can already see the effect for it, right? It's not that evident because the emission is really low. So let me increase it. Okay. Now we don't want it to be applied everywhere because it just looks ugly. So let's go ahead and add a color ramp to control that. And if you click on this black part of it and just drag it right over to the white one, now you can see that what exactly is happening, right? So let's bring both of these closer. Just now, the way the funnel node works is that it works with your camera. So it will go ahead and provide highlights to the places where the edge of the model is, right? So like you can see, it's already glowing from the inside. It has some glow at the edges over here. It has some glow down here. So you can control this value by bringing in the black towards the white. And again, you can change the color to anything that you want. So I'll go with somewhat slight reddish because that looks good. Okay, so now we have our glow as well for the gun. So let's go ahead and texture the remaining stuff too, right? So the magazine is actually pretty easy. So I'll just go ahead and I can actually use the base color and it will work just fine. And go ahead and apply the silver highlights over here, which works fine too. And again, it might look like not a lot of thing is going on, but as soon as I turn off the light, you can see that silver color, right? So it's there. It's just it will come up in the final render that we do. And yeah, let's so we are done with our magazine. Let's go ahead and do the thing below the barrel. Again, I'm gonna use my base color over here as well, and the remaining one would be my silver highlights. I did not do a lot of things in here, so we should be fine with this. In addition to that, over here as well, I'll be using the base color, right? But this piece that you see, I will go ahead and add my glass texture that I created. And why am I doing that? Is because we'll be adding some additional details in there, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So this one will again be my silver highlights that I created, and this entire piece we'll have two different textures. The first one's the base color, which is a little bit of the shiny one that we created, and the second one is just basically going to be my silver highlights. So yep, I think we are pretty much done. Now so the things that are remaining are the core and the hands around it, right? So for the core, so there are two cubes in here, right? The first one, I'll be using the glass material so that the second cube becomes visible. And for the second cube, I'll go ahead and create a new texture. And again, I'll use an emission texture over here, and probably make it orangish, reddish, and just increase it all the way up to 1000. And why I'm doing that is because I want this cube to glow and provide its glow around, right? So that it looks somewhat like a power core that is powering the entire gun. So that's how we do it. It's super simple. And for those hands as well, we're just using the same materials. The first one is the base color, and the second one is actually the emission material that we have applied to the rest of the gun, right? So we'll use that over here as well. So let's repeat that, and this one we'll change it to emission. Yeah, so our gun's pretty much ready. Now if you remember, there was this fiery effect that was there in here, right? Which looks pretty cool, and I was able to animate that as well. So it looks like the fiery smoke is just moving around inside the gun, which is pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I did that, and hopefully you guys can make use of it somewhere else, right? So I added some additional cubes. So let me go back to this and bring those cubes back. So I added these cubes over here. And why did I do that? Well, so the next texture that I'm actually going to make would be a principled volume. Now I know that this probably is really the wrong way to go about it, because this thing is just gonna take your processing power. Like it's gonna be a while before you'll be able to render this thing out if you don't have a powerful computer, right? It took me 4 hours, and yeah, I just have an average one. But if you have like a basic one, it's just gonna be a while. If you have a good computer, it will still be about 2 hours or so. So just be ready if you're actually gonna use this. But let me show you how I did that, right? So just give me a second. Okay, so as you can see, this is the principal volume that I was talking about, right? It adds that gas-like or the atmosphere like effect into your shading. Now I know this looks visibly bad, so don't be alarmed. We are actually not going to render it in EV. So this is because of our render engine, and that's EV, right? So as soon as you change it to cycles and go to your render view, can you see how awesome it looks? But cycle is really slow as compared to EV, right? EV is a real-time rendering engine, but cycle adds more realism to your final renders, right? But that comes with a cost. So it's more time consuming to render it in cycles, but I was not getting that effect that I wanted in EV. So I had to go back and create that in cycles. Now, how did I do this? I see a bunch of nodes here. So I'm going to start from the basic again so that I can give you guys some good idea about how I did it. So let's just go ahead and delete this. Right, so now I have all these cubes turned black. So actually, let me delete this too. Okay, so let's start with this. Now we don't have any textures in here, so the first thing that we're going to do is we will go ahead and go to shaders and go to principled volume. We'll bring this in and we'll take the volume and plug it into the volume. And now as soon as I do that, the entire thing went transparent, right? And yeah, there is a reason for that. It is because now it's not a mesh, or now it's not an object, it's just an atmosphere, or it's just providing some kind of volume to your model, right? So let's go ahead and model that. Sorry, shade. Go ahead and add those textures in here, right? So uh, let's first bring in a color ramp. Now you might know that you might have observed that I bring in color ramp for almost everything, and there is a reason for that, right? This is a very good node that can help you with a lot of things. So this node's basic job is to control the amount of textures or things that you're applying in your model. So it's really helpful, and it's actually going to help you out in a lot of cases. So one of the most beneficial node which is there here, it's a color ramp. Now once we have added that, let's go ahead and add a noise texture to create that wavy pattern that we haven't had in there, right? So let's bring in a noise texture. Let's put the factor into the factor and increase the emission strength, right? So what I'm doing is basically I took the color of the color ramp and put it in the emission color over here. Now if I increase the emission what do you say, power to 100, can you see it's already added in there? Okay, so let's go ahead and change the settings here. So we'll add 20 for the scale. Then our details will keep it somewhere around 6 and increase the roughness a little bit. So we'll bring it up to 8. And yeah, let's put a distortion of 2. Now it's still not doing a lot of things, and that's because we just have one color in here, right? So let's go ahead and add some colors. So the first one we're going to do is add an orange, and let's add let's add a reddish color in here. The next thing we're going to do is go somewhat a little bit lighter, just to create that what do you say, difference. And again, I know it's not looking that great, so again going to press Control T and change this from generated to object. And yeah, now we get that wavy pattern that we needed, right? So generated is basically some random textures that gets generated. So what Blender does is that originally it will place your texture randomly, right? Through whatever it gets generated through Blender's what do you say, algorithm. But when you change it to object, now this texture is basically getting defined on the basis of the scale of that object and placed accordingly. So that is what is happening here. And yeah, since we have created that, now let's just increase the emission a little bit more. It doesn't look good. Let's go back to 100. Okay, cool. So we got the first texture sorted out, and we're going to use the same texture that we created here over here as well, right? So basically my thought process of doing this is just to create that illusion that this, what do you say, the power source is actually going from the magazine to the core and then going to the barrel and just coming out of the gun, right? So that's what I'm trying to make here. So yeah, first the magazine and the same volume is actually going to be applied over here as well, but we will add, like, go ahead and create a new material for this, because I don't really want so much light in here because I want the core to be highlighted, right? So I'll go ahead and decrease the emission strength over here to about 50. Let's go 30. Great. And then there is another one over here. Yeah, this cube. Let's go ahead and apply the same material that we just created over here as well, so that we have that light which is showing up this internal pipe going around. And the last one I think we have is somewhat here, which is already applied, so there's no point in applying it again. And then the last, I think this is also done, so we are good there. What I didn't do in my original mesh was didn't create a light in here, but I think it would be awesome if this barrel had some light too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Right. So I'll add the same emission material in here. So let's do add emission, and then I'll, okay, yeah, and then I'll hit assign. As soon as I do that, oh yeah, sorry, this emission material is currently not applied all the way. So yeah, as soon as I do that, can you see the barrels glowing now, which gives it another awesome effect. So yeah, let's just go ahead and change the color a little bit, because it's just too yellowish and I don't like it. Okay, now it looks good. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. How I created those textures. The final animation I'm actually going to play for you guys right now will look somewhat like this, right? Where it's actually moving. These textures are moving too. So I'll just play it for you guys in a proper way. And I really hope that you guys like this video and it was helpful for you in any way. If it was, please don't forget to hit that like button, and yeah, for similar content in the future, just make sure you're subscribing and hitting that bell icon so that you get notified whenever I publish a video, right? So yeah, I guess that's about it. So thank you so much for hanging out so far, and I'll see you guys in the next video.